Hi, and welcome to episode 57 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live on a farm with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, March 8th, 2019. This is a podcast all about my crafty life, and today I have knitting, crocheting, and hand-dyed yarn to share with you all. Thank you so much for joining me today. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. I really appreciate you joining me, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character. And I also have a group for this podcast on Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts Podcast. In that group, you will be able to find the show notes for this episode as well as previous episodes and several other chatter threads. You can also get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. And I have links to all of the places that you can find me in the description box below. Today I am wearing my SOURCEBOOK chunky cardigan, which is a design by NORAH, and it is in the knitted cable SOURCEBOOK that I have and love. And I knitted this, I just finished it in January, so it hasn't been a finished object for too long, but I've already gotten a ton of use out of it. I knit it using Knit Picks Eco Wool in the Wilbur colorway, and it seems to be wearing fairly well, so I'm really happy with it. And like I said, I've just worn it so much since I've finished it, so I'm really pleased with this garment. I'm also wearing a me-made dress that I drafted myself by copying one of the dresses that I wear often and love. And so I just laid that dress out and traced around it. And this is the second dress that I've made using that pattern that I drafted myself. So it is just in a charcoal gray knit jersey fabric. So I have gotten a lot of use out of this garment as well because it's so neutral and it goes with so many things. Also, I'm terrible at mentioning what is on my dress form in the background, but I'm going to try to remember to do that from now on. So this is the Transitions shawl, and it is a beautiful design by HANDKNITBYKAM, and I knit that last year using all of my own hand-dyed yarn, Noble Character Crafts yarn, on 4 different colorways. You can certainly just head on over to my Ravelry page if you are interested in any more details about that shawl, but I love it. As you can see, it's also quite neutral, so it goes with tons of the outfits that I wear as well. So I really love the shape and colors in that shawl. So, all right, I don't have any finished objects to share with you all today, so I will just go ahead and start with my works in progress. My first work in progress is in this beautiful bag by Tanny Casey, and it has a twill and print enamel pin on here, which is also a row counter, which has come in very handy for this project. In this bag is my BRIOCHEALUSCIOUS shawl, which is a beautiful design by ANDREA MOWRY, or Drea Renee Knits. And let's see, last time I recorded a podcast last week, I had just finished the third section. So you can see this beautiful progress keeper here is from Amanda of Little Bitty Delights. Has chocolate chip cookies and a cup of hot cocoa, which is so cute, so beautifully made. And so anyway, that's marking where I was last week, and I have just finished the 4th section since then. So you can see here the first brioche section I just finished. And I'm really happy with how this is turning out. I'm using my own hand-dyed yarn for this project as well. So again, Noble Character Crafts yarn. The first section I used my Undyed Lambs colorway and my Solid Black Night colorway. And then for the second section, I used my Silent colorway, which is a light gray speckled with black. And I striped that along with my Night colorway again, but that one is on my Twinkle Toes base, so it has gold stellina in it. The other yarn is all on my Pitter Patter base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon fingering weight. This third section is knit using my Insight colorway, which is a neutral or bare yarn speckled with black. And that is worked in seed stitch, which is so beautiful. And then for the fourth section, I used, again, the Bare Lambs colorway, and I also used the Night colorway on the Twinkle Toes base. So you can barely see the gold stellina peeking through since the black is on the background. But it's just, I had just I think a 50-gram mini that I wanted to use up of the Twinkle Toes base. So I've pretty well used that all up. There's just a little bit left, so I won't be using that anymore in this shawl. But I was glad to get a little bit of sparkle into this project just because I think that's so fun. I am knitting this for a lady that I go to church with, and she wears a lot of black and white, I've noticed, and so I wanted to make something that, you know, would go with what she wears. And of course, black and white just goes with anything anyway, no matter what your wardrobe looks like. But I have just noticed that she wears a lot of black and white, so I think that she will really like the color, you know, the monochromatic tone of this shawl. So I am knitting this on US 4 3.5 millimeter needles. But right now I don't have any needles on it because I needed to borrow them for one of my other works in progress. I only have 2 sets of US 4 needles in my interchangeable set. I have a 5-inch tip and a 4-inch tip, and they're both in use right now for 2 of my other whips. So I just took them off of this project to use on my other project. But you know, they're easy to put back on here if I want to work on this a little bit. But right as of now, they don't have any needles on them. But that's the nice thing about an interchangeable set, is that you can just switch them around so easily. All of my needles are CHAOGOO red lace, or red, is that what they're called? CHAOGOO red lace, yeah. I have an interchangeable set, so that is what I use for all of my projects. So it is working up really nicely, and the brioche section was a little bit slow, as brioche can be sometimes. This is the first time that I have ever worked brioche, 2-color brioche flat. So I have done brioche flat before, but only with 1 color, and I have done 2-color brioche, but only in the round. So this is the first time I've ever done it flat, which isn't really much of a change, other than you just slide your stitches to the, well, you just work a row and then you slide your stitches back to the other side again and work that row again with the other color, you know. So anyway, it's not hard. It's just a little bit more time consuming, of course, than your regular knitting. So anyway, I'm really happy with this. I can't spread it out very well on the cord right now, on the cable. It's quite a bit scrunched up on there right now, but I think that's some of the fun of knitting a shawl, is that, you know, you don't really see how gorgeous it is until it's all done, and then you can take it off the cable and really spread it out. And of course, after you block it, then it stretches even more and it becomes even bigger. And I just think that's really fun to see that come to life once you've got it off the needles. So anyway, the next section is going to be very similar to this 3rd section. It is going to be worked using short rows and seed stitch as well, and I'm going to be using my Silent colorway, the light gray that's speckled, for that 5th section. So that's what I will be working on next. My next work in progress is in this beautiful bag that Mary Ann of Rock Islander made for me when we did a swap last year. And in here is my Stoneham poncho that I am turning into a sweater. This is a beautiful design by DIANNA WALLA. And as I said, it is called a poncho, so it is meant to not have sleeves, and I have decided to add sleeves to this garment. And it is working up really quickly, and I'm just really loving it. So as you can see, it's grown quite a bit since last week already. Here is a progress keeper, which is also from Mary Ann of Rock Islander. And that is marking where I was last week when I recorded. And so I have worked quite a bit since then. So I finished the color work and split for the sleeves and have worked all of the body, and I'm now on the ribbing at the bottom. So it's working up so quickly and I'm so happy with it. I am using my own hand-dyed yarn for this project as well. This is a DK weight yarn. It is on my Josephine base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. The main black color, again, is my night colorway. And then the two contrast colors, the lightly speckled one is my sweetness colorway. So it is a bare yarn that's speckled with pink, deep plum, and brown that breaks into other colors like orange and blue. And then the other contrast color is my Gaze colorway, which is this tonal pinkish purple. So last time I recorded, you saw that I had tried it on if you watched last week, and I was really happy with the fit of it. I still am, except I had mentioned that I thought maybe I would need to shorten the yoke, the color work, before I split for the sleeves because it was already getting pretty close to where I needed to split for the sleeves. So I worked this pattern right here and tried it back on again, and I decided that I only needed a little, about an inch or two, about 2 inches really is what I needed before I wanted to split for the sleeves. So I decided to take out some of the color work from the chart. So after this lined section, there was supposed to be a section of this plus sign pattern, and I took that out, and then this zigzag pattern was supposed to come next, and I wanted to keep that in there because I really wanted to have another section using the Gaze colorway, just because I love that color so much and I really like how that, you know, makes the yoke, the color work yoke, pop so much. So I really wanted to leave that section in. And then after that zigzag section, there was also supposed to be another section of this pattern. So I took that out as well because I was already ready to split for the sleeves. So since I had to figure out how to split for the sleeves, I ended up going on Ravelry and just searching some free top-down pullover patterns using DK weight, and I looked through a few of them to try to find a stitch count that was similar to the stitch count in this pattern. For this pattern, by the way, there are two different sizes. There's a small medium and a medium large. I am making the small medium size, which is pretty roomy for a small medium size. But so, you know, it has some positive ease in it. And anyway, it had a total of 276 stitches, I believe, once you're done with the color work section. So I just tried to find a pattern that was similar, as close as I could, to the stitch count that I had, and I looked at how many stitches they said to put on hold when splitting for the sleeves. And so the pattern that I found called for you to put 44 stitches on hold and then to cast on 15 stitches for the underarm. So that's what I did. I just split the stitches evenly from the front and the back, so they're the same. I think it was 94 stitches on both the front and the back, and then 44 stitches for each sleeve, and then I cast on 15 stitches under the arm. And then I've just been working straight down in stockinette stitch since then, and I have tried it on and I just really love the fit. It has quite a bit of positive ease in it, and it's nice and roomy. As you can see, it's not terribly long. I'm starting the ribbing just below my natural waist, and I'm going to work the ribbing for about 3 inches, I think. I have decided to split the hem. So right now I'm just working on the front. Once I finished, I knit the body from the color work down to the ribbing for 9.5 inches. And then I just split the front stitches and the back stitches evenly. I did need to increase 1 stitch just so it would be an even number, because at that point I had 218 stitches total. And so when I split half and half, it was 109, and I'm doing 2 by 2 ribbing here along the bottom. So I just increased by 1 stitch to get up to 110 stitches for the front, and I'm just working back and forth. And like I said, I'm planning to do the ribbing for 3 inches on the front, and then I think for the back I may make that a little bit longer in the back so that it has, you know, a high-low hem. I am using 3 different sizes of needles for this project. For the ribbing, I am using US size 4 3.5 millimeter needles, so that's why I stole these from the BRIOCHEALUSCIOUS shawl, and because I'm on the ribbing now. For the color work, I went up to a US 8 5 millimeter needle, and for the main body, I used a US 6 4 millimeter needle. And it has a gauge of 22 stitches to 4 inches. So I am just super happy with this. I cannot wait for, well, I just can't wait for it to be done, but I am enjoying it, of course, as well. Although, you know, knitting with black isn't too terribly exciting, but this is a really nice project that is mindless. So this is my only mindless project that I have right now, and so that's wonderful to have something that I can just pick up and work on without thinking too much about it. I think that's all I have to say. I'm really happy with it, and yeah, just going to continue working on it, and I'm hopeful that it will be done soon since it seems to be working up so quickly. I'm just so pleased with this color work yoke. It's so gorgeous. I just love it so much. I really like the turtleneck as well. It's an extra long turtleneck, so when I wear it, it really, you know, slouches down, and you lose some of that color work that in the collar or in the turtleneck because it scrunches down so much, so some of it gets hidden, but I think that's okay. And also the ribbing is really flipping over right now, but I'm hoping that once I block it that won't do that as much. I have seen on other project pages that many people have either sewn it or worn it with the collar flipped in, since it's such a long turtleneck, so I guess that's an option that I could do as well if I prefer that. So we'll see how it works out once it's blocked. But anyway, very, very happy with this project, and I'm so thrilled that it is working out how I had hoped. I'd never have made this many modifications to a pattern before, and I was a bit nervous that I wouldn't be able to figure out the stitch count for the sleeves and everything, and that it wouldn't work out, but it seems to be working out really well, so I'm super pleased with that. My next work in progress is in this beautiful Japanese knot bag that my friend Tina made for me. And in here are my Minerva mittens that I am knitting. This is a beautiful pattern by Elizabeth of SALAPALOOSA Knits. And I finished the first one, and I'm so pleased with it. I just think they're so gorgeous. And I just watched Elizabeth's most recent podcast. If you have not watched her podcast, SALAPALOOSA Knits, you should. She's so lovely to watch. She's just so eloquent and beautiful, and the projects that she makes are so inspiring. So please go check out her podcast if you haven't yet. But she even mentioned these mittens that I'm making in her podcast, which was just such a surprise and so sweet of her to mention me. And she was just talking about how it's so fun to see her design knit up in different colors that people choose. And so anyway, thanks again, Elizabeth, for mentioning me, and I really appreciate that. That was so sweet of you. Anyway, I absolutely love this design. It is so gorgeous. I love how the palm has this bit of differentiation in the pattern, and it really is so beautiful. I just love it so much. I love the cuff, how it's so long and beautiful. Oh, I just think the pattern is so gorgeous. I love it so much. Oh, it's so stunning. The fit seems to be really nice for me, which I'm so happy about. I'm using my own hand-dyed yarn for this project as well. This is on my Gentle base, which is 100% non-superwash merino fingering weight. The two colors I'm using are my Good Sense colorway, which is just this solid sandy brown color, and my Refreshes colorway, which is a deep teal, solid as well. The needles I'm using for the cuff, I used a US 2 2.75 millimeter needle, And then for the main body, I am using, again, a US 4 3.5 millimeter needle. I followed the pattern exactly. It is beautifully written, so easy to understand. It's wonderful. I love it so much. And I am on the second one, and it's coming along wonderfully. So last time I recorded, I was about at this point, I think, on the first mitten, so it's coming along beautifully. I just absolutely love working on this pattern, and it's so, colorwork mittens are just so addictive, and I am just dreaming about making all the colorwork mittens. I just am so interested in making more and more and more. So I'm super excited about that. I am also excited to take part in Ellie of Skein Deer Knits year-long knit-along. And this is going to be my second pair of colorwork mittens to enter into that knit-along. And the idea for that knit-along is to make 6 pairs of colorwork mittens within the year. So I'm well on my way to being able to do that as well, which is super exciting. Yeah, so the second mitten is working up beautifully. You can see I've got the thumb stitches on this waste yarn here and just working along. I love it so much. The left hand is harder to try on because of my pokey wedding ring, but it is fitting beautifully as well, of course. So super happy with these. So pleased with them. And these will match my sparkling cider hat that I finished recently. I made that hat using the Refreshes colorway, so they'll be a nice set once these are complete, which I think they should be complete pretty soon. And the last work in progress that I have to share with you is in a basket that I also got from my friend Tina. She had gifted that to me that was filled up with houseplants. I think from when I was ill last September. I think that's when she gave it to me. And in here I am making my Miley hexagon blanket. This is a beautiful free pattern by Emma of Potter and Bloom, and it is called the Miley hexagon motif. She also has a video tutorial that walks you through all the steps to make this pattern, which is so well done and easy to understand. It's such a great pattern. And Emma also has a podcast. She was one of the first podcasts that I ever started watching, and she is always very encouraging to anybody who wants to start a podcast, and I highly recommend checking out her podcast as well if you haven't yet. She also has a ton of video tutorials on making different stitches, and she's just a great resource for many beautiful patterns. So thank you so much, Emma, for this gorgeous pattern. I absolutely love it. I am using all DK weight scraps for the center of each of these motifs. So most of them are my own hand-dyed yarn. There's a few different alpaca blend or 100% alpaca yarns in here that I had in my stash. And then for the border on each motif, I am using, again, my Bare Undyed Lambs colorway. And again, this is all on my, well, the border is my Josephine base, DK weight, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon again. And like I said, many of these other colors are also on that base. So you can see I've used some of the scraps from the STONEHAM poncho / sweater. So here's the Sweetness colorway. Here is the Gaze colorway. So anyway, I am loving this so much. I think this is going to be so stunning once it's complete. But of course it will be a long-term project because using scraps, you know, I'm just using scraps as I have them in my stash, and it'll grow slowly, but I'm really loving it so far. I am joining as I go. So there's 3 rounds for this motif. The first round I'm doing in the color, and then the second and third rounds are in the bare yarn. And on that third round, I am joining to the previous hexagon or wherever it fits. I'm just slipping into this stitch across from there to join it, and that's working up beautifully. So I just love showing off my hexagon blankets when they're at a stage where they are, you know, in a hexagon themselves. I don't know why that makes me happy, but it does when they're in a form of a hexagon. So anyway, I just thought I would show that off since I had made a little bit of progress on there. Here's the back side, and it's also just as beautiful, I think. Since I join as I go, I can just crochet right over the loose ends, which is so nice, and I don't have nearly as many ends to weave in. All of these end pieces will be crocheted over as I join more hexagons. So anyway, I'm very, very happy with this. Oh, I don't know if you can tell, but the way that you join the hexagons, they are, when you join them, you can either have 2 of these at the top or only 1. And so I've tried to align, I'll probably be the only one that ever notices that, but I'm trying to align them so that there's kind of a pattern and they're not completely random. So you can see in this row, they're all pointing with 2 on top. And then on this row, they're all pointing with only 1 on top. And then I switched it again. So it has a bit of a pattern there with how the hexagons are facing. Anyway, super happy with this. Oh, I'm using an H hook 5mm for this. The original pattern is made using fingering weight yarn, but of course it's very easily adaptable. So I just picked a 5mm hook because that's what I like to use with DK weight yarn. So I just like the fabric that gives. So those are all of the works in progress that I have to share with you all this week. Every time I record a podcast, I like to share a set of yarn from my Etsy shop that I think would work well together for a project. And last week I was getting ready to send out a set of yarn. And before I did that, I went ahead and recorded a section to share with you all. So I'm going to insert that here. The yarn that I have to share with you all this week is a set of 4. This is a special set that I have dyed up for a collaboration that I am doing with a designer, and I'm very excited about that. And these are the colors that she picked from my shop, and so I'm getting ready to send these off in the mail to her, but I thought I would just record this little section ahead of time so that I can show you these colorways together. So this is all dyed on my Josephine base, which is my DK weight 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And the lightest color is my Integrity colorway. It is a neutral base, and it's speckled with light brown and a deep kind of a coral color. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's kind of an orangish red, pretty deep color there that is lightly speckled with the light brown as well. And then the next colorway is my Satisfied colorway, which is this nice tonal rosy pink colorway, kind of dusty pink. The third colorway is my Gracious colorway, which I call like a raspberry color. It's just a nice deep pinkish purple. It's coming across a little bit deeper on the screen than it is in person. It's a little bit lighter in person. Yeah. I call it, I just think it looks like, I guess not really like raspberry, not like a true raspberry, but maybe more of like a raspberry sherbet color kind of, but deeper than that. I don't know. It just reminds me of raspberries for some reason. But it's a pinkish purple tonal. And then the last deepest color is my Vineyard colorway, which is a deep wine colored yarn, so deep burgundy. And again, that's not coming across quite true on screen either. It's coming across more red on the screen. In real life, it's got more of a purple tone to it. But it's always hard to capture them on screen. I try to get them accurate on my website, so if you want a little bit more accurate picture of the colorways, you can certainly head on over to my Etsy shop at noblecharactercrafts.etsy.com if you'd like to see any of my colorways. And as always, all of my colorways are available on all 9 of my bases at all times. So you can certainly check out my Etsy shop if you would be interested. I would really appreciate that. So we've had a pretty good week. The winter is just dragging on. I know that probably just a few weeks ago I had mentioned that I love winter, but I am over it. We have had more snow and it's beautiful. I still think it's absolutely beautiful, but I'm just tired of being in the house now. I like being home, but it's just getting a little old. The kids are getting crazy and it's just time for spring to come. But spring is coming soon. You know, it's on the 20th of March. So we only have, you know, less than 2 weeks left before the first day of spring, right? So surely it's coming soon. I hope so. We're definitely all ready for spring here in this house anyway. So that's all I have to share with you this week. I really appreciate you all joining me, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy it, I would really appreciate you giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to this channel if you would like. I would appreciate that so much as well. I hope you all have a great week ahead. Bye!